question. First of all, how long were you in this organization?
So that was 3 years. Again, the transition.
3 years?
Yeah.
3 years?
Yes.
Okay.
So that was the first job. And then at the end of 3 years, I was poached because of what I was doing.
So, even before getting poached, I remember meeting you in this season, chilling a bit with you in this season.
Yeah.
There's something that you told me that was confusing, which was, even before being poached, you already began to get the inclination that God was going to ask you to move somewhere else.
Yeah. It's always been my story. You know, like when you know seasons are over, you've done what you're supposed to do. And I remember he actually used scripture for me, you know, from moving from this place to the other. And at that point when he's speaking, there's no door open. There's nothing there's no fununu or aka incline that you're going to leave. But then a few moments, just like the way he always deals with me, a few moments or a few weeks or months later, I can't remember, I meet this person who then comes and tells me there's actually an opportunity for you. And interestingly, it was the same mentor who I had walked away from, who came looking for me and said, I'm in this place now, and I think you'd be great for this position. Why don't you come and have a conversation with the CEO? And that's how I went back to God. And then he told me, yeah, because you see, he had already begun dealing with me. By the time I had the conversation and I knew what it was, they were poaching me because of what I had been doing, and they had heard of it, and therefore they wanted me now to implement it in their company.
You're not going to say the company as well?
No.
My God, you know, you're talking about some, I know the companies, I just want to say it. But these are not tiny companies.
No.
These are companies that are doing millions of dollars in terms of
That's the check, yeah.
yes, like revenue. This is not small time companies that you move to. The second one that I'm talking about. I think I want to ask, did you go back to school before going to this company?
Yes, actually.
The second company?
Yes.
Okay, question is why? Why did you go back to school?
Okay, so this is now, like during the third year.
We'll call one company company A. Because can go and do your own research. LinkedIn is your friend. Company B.
So interestingly, remember I said that for me, I had always seen myself as a corporate girl. In fact, the times that God would speak to me about my career, he sometimes uses vision. So the vision I would see of myself is in a boardroom, making presentations, pitching to investors. That's how I would see myself. But then at this point, so I'm obviously thinking I'm going to do an MBA to advance my what is it called, my corporate career. And I begin looking at Stellenbosch, Strathmore and different places, University of Cape Town, blah, 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 University of Nairobi. I was just considering which one would be convenient for me as I'm building my career. And I remember I applied to 2 of them. And then something started happening in my heart when God would say, you're not doing it. There's no MBA you're doing. I'm like, what? So I then spent time when I was like, what is this thing that I'm hearing that I'm not supposed to do an MBA? So when I spent time with God and I prayed about it and I sat with him, it then became clear when I began hearing that you're going to do governance. In my head, I'm thinking, what? Because I hated politics with a passion.
What?
I was like, what the hell? I mean, it was like left field. How do you switch me from corporate to governance? And this was the time when I was transitioning from one company to the other, the first company to the second.
A to company B.
And I said, God, okay, first of all, who even in this country offers governance? Like, what are we going to do with governance? And I even thought it was corporate governance. Then I thought, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not interested. I'm more of a, strategy, blah, 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 business strategy, implementation and execution kind of girl. But here he is saying public governance, not even just governance. So that was in 2010 at this time. So I'm like, I don't know about this, Lord. Now, for him, the way, again, different experiences with different people. The day I was clear in my spirit that I know I'm hearing God, the following day I meet a friend of mine, and she tells me, oh my God, Sellah, I wanted to call you yesterday. So I say, okay. Then she says, I got into this school and there's this class that I joined and it's a master's in public governance. And public governance and leadership. And I think it would be great for you. I just stood and I was like, what are you telling me? Like, God, I've heard you. It was so surreal for me, the way he he sent someone to make sure, you know, like the way Moses dealt with God, and he's like, okay, how do I know you're the one sending me? Who do I tell them? And he had all these stories. I'm a stammerer. In my head, I was thinking, I'm not even, like, what am I bringing to the table in terms of governance?
I'm not even passionate about it.
Precisely. But anyway, so he sends the girl, and I just say, okay, I'm just going to check it out. And I knew for sure he wanted me to. Now, the moment I know something from God, I don't argue with him. And even if I struggle with it for a bit, I still end up doing it. And I still do it.
Yes,
you know, you do it as you're struggling, but you know this is your will.
Obedience is not the way the Bible says. There's a story of, I asked somebody to do something in the morning and they said they're going to do it, but didn't do it.
Yeah.
And there's the one who said they won't do it.
And they did it.
And they did it.
Yeah. So I remember, now this is the part where I joined the class. It was an evening class, of course, because now I had transitioned to the new company. It was an evening class. And I remember the first class I went into was called Public Legal and Regulatory Framework. Now, what the hell? I was like, what? And the lecturer was, I mean, a nice lecturer and all, but then I was like, what am I doing in this class? This is so off in me. Like, it has nothing to do with the picture I see of myself. Again, the picture I see of myself. And I remember at tea break, because it was the first part of the class, then you do like a small tea break, then you go back to the last part until 8:30. And during the tea break, we're outside standing, and I'm literally tearing. Because in my mind, I cannot fathom that I'm going to do this for, I think it was 2 years or something. And I was like, I cannot, this cannot be my life. God, please prove to me that this is you. And I was really struggling. And as I was somewhere in the corner somewhere, people are having tea and all that, this lady walks up to me and tells me, she's of course a bit older than me, because most people, I mean, at that age,
yes.
You're like 20, 23, 24. What are you doing in a governance class? You know, you don't even know yourself. You know, you're still discovering yourself. So this lady walks up to me. She's called Ogla Karani, an amazing woman who just decided, you will go through this class and you will finish it. She just had my story and she said, you will have to finish it. So anyway, she asks me, she asked me what's wrong. And I said, I just don't know if this is for me. Then she said, you had so many options. I mean, she was so hard on me. Like, so she had so many options. So why didn't you take, you have MBA, you have what? And I said, yeah, right? Then I said, but God told me to do it. She said, if it is God, you better do it and finish it. And in that moment, I almost like, you know, like snap out of it, you know, like you can't say something is God and you're still struggling with it. And I remember that second half of the class, I went in and I just purposed to listen
You change your mindset.
Completely. And sometimes we block ourselves from connecting to what is God because it's not our preference, it's not our desire, it's not aligned to what you want. And you miss out completely on God. Meanwhile, He was prepping me for what was to come.
You know what's mind-blowing me about this whole thing? First of all, again, I remember this era because I was with you. Remember when I once dropped you there and my moti died? He died. Oh God, night calling the mechanic. Opio, niaje, inge like.
You'll edit that part.
Anyway, but what you just said,
I even forgot that.
It's so mind-blowing because from the exterior, and I have to say this just so that people can, you look like you just had it all together, that you knew what you were doing, that you are, you know, you've really got this thing in lock and all the boxes ticked. What's jazzing me about this story, jazzing, showing my age, but what I love about it is you had the ability to hear God. You know, you've been telling me about hearing God, but even when it's something that has nothing to do with you. You know what I mean?
I struggled because I didn't want, like, I think because I had created a picture of myself, I was struggling to fit this thing into that picture, and therefore struggling with the will of God. So He was pushing me in the direction that was His direction, His will. But I was kwamiliaing on this thing that He had told me, or this thing that I thought He had told me. And again, back to liberty, just the flexibility of today He tells you eat, rise, kill and eat, and then tomorrow He tells you you're not supposed to eat. And it's different instructions for different people, as we said. But then it's that the moment you connect with what is God, you have to be able to let go of everything else because it's not God's will for you, especially when He's already made it clear, I want you to go this direction. Again,
because you've talked about that, I remember your transition when you're being poached again. And I want to emphasize that you were so valuable in company A that the poach wasn't easy.
No, it was a struggle.
Like
again, back to value. The value that you bring to the table will always make you they would want to offer you whatever it takes for you to stay. But again, the offer should not be the reason for you to stay or not stay. It's always, what is God telling me? And the moment God says it's time, for me it was not the money that I was going to get on this side. In fact, to some extent, I didn't get the package that I wanted on this other end. But because God had told me it's time to move and he had made it clear it's to this organization, then regardless the struggle that I was having with, okay, this is not the target that I had set for myself or the thing that I was envisioning for myself, I had to embrace it, because the moment you embrace the mind of God and the will of God for yourself, the other things that you think are important somehow find themselves sort of like just coming together. And you have to be able to trust God that that will always happen.
This is heavy. That's a lot. Okay, let's talk about company B.
So I go in.